They took his father's land until the court read one document. They thought the land was finally theirs. The fence had already been marked, the surveyor had been paid, even the celebration had been planned. But when the judge asked for one document, the entire courtroom went quiet because no one expected it to exist. This happened in southwestern Nigeria, in a town where land is more than property. It is history, it is lineage, it is identity. The land in question sat just outside the town center, 5 acres, passed down through one family for over 40 years. It originally belonged to a man named Adekunle Adebayo. Adekunle was not a wealthy man, but he was respected. He farmed the land, raised his children on it, and refused to sell it even when developers came knocking. When he died suddenly, the family gathered quickly. Too quickly. Adekunle had 3 sons. The 2 older brothers, Kunle and Bamidele, lived in the city. They wore suits, spoke confidently, and knew how to talk to elders. The youngest son, Tunde, stayed behind. He worked the land with his father until the day he died. He knew every boundary stone, every tree his father planted. But in the family, presence mattered less than power, and power favored the older brothers. The first meeting happened 1 week after the burial. Elders were invited, documents were discussed, decisions were made. Tunde was not present. He was told later that the meeting was just planning, nothing serious. A month passed. Then he noticed strangers walking the land with measuring tools. When he asked, his brothers told him calmly, "We are settling matters." No one explained what that meant. By the 3rd month, it became clear. The older brothers had decided the land would be sold. They claimed their father had promised it to them because they handled responsibilities. They said Tunde had already benefited by staying there for years. And when Tunde objected, they said something that cut deeper than the decision itself. You don't have papers. In many African families, land is inherited by tradition, not paperwork. And the brothers knew this. They had spoken to elders, they had signatures, they had confidence. What they did not have was proof that their father had never written anything down, because Adekunle had, and Tunde knew exactly where to look. When Tunde filed a case, people were surprised. Some said he was disrespectful, others said he was wasting time. In court, the brothers arrived prepared. They brought witnesses, they brought elders, they spoke clearly. Tunde arrived alone. No lawyer, no entourage, just a small folder under his arm. The judge listened quietly. Then he asked a simple question. Was there any written instruction from the deceased? The brothers answered confidently, "No, my lord." That was when Tunde stood up and for the first time spoke. "My lord, my father left one document." The courtroom shifted. The document was not a will. It was older than that, a handwritten declaration registered with the local land office nearly 15 years earlier. It stated clearly, the land belonged to all 3 sons. It could not be sold without unanimous consent. Any attempt to bypass this would be invalid. The judge read it slowly, line by line. No one spoke. The ruling was short. The sale was stopped. The brothers' agreements were void. The land would remain jointly owned. But there was more. The judge warned that any future attempt to sell the land without consent would carry legal penalties. For the first time, the older brothers were silent. Outside the courtroom, no one celebrated. There were no apologies, no hugs. The brothers left separately. Tunde returned to the land that same evening. Nothing had changed physically, but everything had changed in truth. In many African families, tradition is trusted more than documentation, but tradition can be bent, paper cannot. Adekunle understood something his sons ignored. Silence is not consent. Presence is not ownership, and inheritance without clarity invites conflict. Sometimes, the quietest person carries the strongest proof. Do you think family land should be governed by tradition alone, or should written records always have the final say? Let me know your thoughts.